So you talked about the early severity predictor.
Yeah.
Tell me more about why you believe that is so important.
About 4 years ago, we've had over 50,000 injured workers be enrolled in that program, which is an amazing stat. And really what it does is it provides the claim professional with a notification that there's a likelihood that that injured worker could decompensate into chronic pain in the future. And so through that, when that model triggers, we really provide that claim professional with the appropriate information to put the right treatment pathways in place to help that injured worker get back to work sooner.
Data and analytics, big topic of conversation. At times it almost feels overwhelming. I'm in the business, dealing with it constantly. How does a risk manager who's got so much on their plate, how do they think about this?
So I think there's really two aspects of it. One, the science is evolving so quickly, it can be overwhelming. And there's so many different tools and capabilities out on the market or being built. It's figuring out how do you stitch those together. And so it's not so much the science, it's how you bring the science and the art together. And so if I was a risk manager, I'd be really focused a lot around how do we make sure we're leveraging these new capabilities, integrating them into the workflow process of the end user, driving adoption and the right behavior, and measuring the outcomes.
People know us as a really high quality claim provider, but we haven't been as vocal about our ability to service customers, or customer centricity from a service perspective, I suppose. And I think that there's a perception that Model A is the same Model A as it is from one place to the next.
Models aren't all the same, right? And so I think it really kind of comes down to how deep a data set do you have feeding the models, but also the quality of the people building the models and how in tune they are with the claim process and the behavior of a claim professional, because that can sometimes be really challenging to try to understand how to integrate that model into the workflow process.
As I think about it, the amount of data really allows us to tune those models, right? So you get a lot of feedback. I mean, you talk about on the ESP model having 50,000 injured employees going through that model, the ability to learn from each one of those. Talk about that a little bit.
Any model that we build here at Travelers has on average about 1,500 different data elements that actually feed into that model. And each model's trained on no less than 250,000 claims. And so when we think about, before we put a model into production, when we think about the accuracy of it, the only way you get there is by having a deep enough set of data and a broad enough set of data to really make sure that what you're building is actually going to be accurate enough that you don't have enough false positives.
And as you think about the platform, all those models, no differentiation in the model quality or capability bringing across to the TPA customers versus insured customers?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think one of the neat things is that there's a level of consistency and quality being applied to every single claim.
So when you're out and talking with customers, what are they telling you about how they see us differently from this perspective?
So one, I think they're blown away by the size of the organization we have dedicated to claim, both from an analytics and technology perspective. They're really surprised by how long we've been on this journey and how much we've already built out from a data and an infrastructure, a technology and a models perspective. And it really seems to be resonating with them in terms of how much time we spend on how we want to integrate the models into the workflow process of our own claim professionals or the workflow processes of our carriers. So Bill, what are some of the key things that you want our customers or potential customers to know about us?
One would be the amount of resources we have dedicated to modeling and predictive analytics. You talked about, how many folks are involved, 150 purely dedicated to claim modeling. You talked about over 600 IT professionals implementing those models into workflow. We talked about over almost 36 active models. The amount of data we have as an organization, both structured and unstructured, I think that's a real differentiator. And finally, I think another really big differentiator is our insurance business and what that allows us to do from an investment perspective. I think the underwriting opportunity, the opportunity to reduce loss costs for us on the insurance side is really fuels an ability to invest differently than maybe some pure TPAs might have.